Welcome back to the People of Penn State podcast. I'm Katie Farnan from the Alumni Association, and today I'm joined by Laura McKinney, a 2020 graduate from the Belisario College of Communications with a degree in broadcast journalism and a minor in entrepreneurship and innovation. Laura is the founder of StrataBrand, a company that she's going to share more about with us today. Laura, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Hello to the people of Penn State.
We are all here today to talk to you,
Yes.
Laura. So let's start with your Penn State journey. Why did you choose to come to Penn State?
I had probably a pretty unconventional path to Penn State. I'm originally from South Florida, but I was looking for really good communications programs or one that at least spoke to me. And I, toured probably like 15 colleges. And Penn State was one of my last stops, and I was not expecting much of it because, not a lot of people from my area really go there. Hadn't heard much about it, but I just read about the College of Communications and went there, toured it, had a really just like a feeling, when you get like those feelings in life, like something is here for me. And I left campus that day. I'm like, I'm gonna think about it. And on my plane ride home back to Florida, I was looking out the window as I was flying over Happy Valley, and I was just like, something in me was like, this is where I need to be, like randomly, the middle of Pennsylvania, from South Florida, but like, I think I need to be here. And my family was on the plane with me, and I walked up to the stewardess on the plane and I said, can you announce to my parents via the phone on the plane, the loudspeaker, that I'm going to go to Penn State? And they announced on the speaker on the plane that Laura is going to Penn State. My parents were like, really? And I just decided right then and there that was where I was going to go. But really, it was one of those like aha moments, like something's for me here. I don't know what it is yet. Couldn't quite put my finger on it, but I knew I had to be there.
I think that's the best college reveal probably ever. I hope you tell that story to everybody you meet, because I think that's the best way to reveal it.
And everyone on the plane was clapping because a lot of people on the plane were from, we were flying out of Penn State or a state college. Right. So they were Penn Staters. So they were happy.
Perfect place to drop the news.
Right.
So when you were a student, what were some of the things that you were heavily involved in during your time here?
Mm-hmm. So while I was at Penn State, again, I went in pretty open-hearted, open-minded. I was studying broadcast journalism, wanted to be a news reporter, was interested in getting involved in the College of Communications where I could. So I joined the College of Comm student government. And then I also was curious just about the school's student government. So my freshman year, I applied to be a part of that. And I actually missed the deadline to be a part of student government. And I begged them, I was like, can I just try? Can I just try? And they're like, fine. And then a few years later, I ran for vice president, and then my senior year ran for student body president. And so it just evolved that way. And I think I just knew I wanted to, while I was at Penn State, I knew I wanted to like be all there and be really present at Penn State and give back to it, because it was giving so much to me, whether it was through my education or through friendships. And I was like, while I'm here, and that's kind of how I move through life and how I've evolved through life, is like wherever I'm planted, like I want to make it better and I'm going to make it mine. And I felt like by the time I was a senior there, I'm like, let me throw my hat in the ring and see what happens if I run for student body president. And that was an experience that I couldn't have foresaw for myself, but I definitely learned a lot through that.
And you graduated in 2020, which was a very unconventional year, if we all remember. So what did, life after graduation in those first couple months look like for you?
Sure. Yeah. Graduating in 2020 was a riot, to say the least. It was, I was, as student body president, I had to, I was doing like news interviews and stuff like that with like national news to talk about like how to lead students like through a global pandemic. What did I know about that? I don't know, but I tried my best at the time, right? So after graduation, I was exhausted. I'm not going to lie. I gave everything I had to that position of president, and also trying to finish studies on top of that and make sure that I get good grades so that I can graduate. So after I graduated, I took a beat, a couple months, moved back to Florida, spent some time with my family, regathered myself, and tried to figure out, where am I going to go next in life? Everything is shut down. I had a whole plan to come to New York City right after graduation and work with Central Park, because I interned with them in college. and they had to drop all the, internships, jobs and stuff because of COVID. So I was kind of left in the dark. And I was applying to jobs. Nobody was hiring. I mean, anybody who was applying to jobs during that time knows how difficult it was, or if you didn't have anything lined up prior. And so I said, everybody's moving out of New York City. I realized, I remember seeing the news clippings and everything of just how awful it was in New York. And I've always felt, again, that call that I had to Penn State. I felt that call to come to New York at some point in my life. And I was like, you know what, like, I'm going to run towards the fire there. Everyone's leaving the city. I feel like this is my time to kind of sneak in. And I came in when the city was completely shut down in November 2020, moved into an apartment. And my plan was to basically see if I can get a job while I was here. And, what I had saved, let me see what I can make happen in this time that I have something saved. So yeah, it was a risky move. So I got to New York, not with a really robust plan, just knowing that I needed to be here for some reason. And I chose to come here at a really tough time. But in a weird way, I felt like I had the city to myself, and I could kind of come back to life with the city because it was slowly starting to open back up. I had like a part-time job at a magazine called Real Leaders, and I was liking that. But something in me was like, I kind of feel like the world around me is falling apart. Like, what's the worst that can happen if I just try to start my own business? Like, everything is, I don't know what tomorrow looks like anyway. Like, that's how it felt at that time. You didn't know what the next day was going to bring. So I was like, let me just try to start my own business. I know I was young and inexperienced, but I knew what I thought I had the capacity to do or the capability to do. And I knew my basic skills at the time were, communications, storytelling from journalism, and that I knew my natural strengths and instincts. Like, I really do love talking to people. I love seeing the best in people. I'm like, how can I merge what I'm professionally good at, what I'm personally good at, to try to make something of this time in New York? And that's when my company StrataBrand was born. It took a couple months to get it off the ground, but in 2021, became an LLC in the state of New York, and launched it. And since then, we're going on our 4th year here. I've worked with over 50 plus clients in a bunch of different industries. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that journey of deciding you're going to start this business, and then what it looks like to grow it, and how that evolved for you.
Right. So when I started it, I was hungry. I was like, I need to really be boots on the ground here. The city was so quiet, and I got my first clients by literally door knocking on bars, restaurants on the street that I live on. Because if you've been to New York, like every street there's a million bars and restaurants, and they're all like kind of timidly wanting to come back to life and needed to get business if they were going to stay alive. And I knew that I can probably tell a story of their business to get people attracted to there again. But I knew they probably didn't have a lot of money at the time. So I would go to these businesses. And I was like, hey, I'll work for you for the first month for you to try to get eyes and attention back into your small business. And then from there, if you like my work, maybe we can work together on a more rotational basis or monthly basis or whatever it was. And that's how I got my first couple clients. And then also through cold calls, like I cold called a bunch of people, whether it was from connections with the Penn State network, which was awesome. And then also friends of friends. I was like asking everyone, like, does anybody need help, like bringing a brand to life, bringing their business back to life? And I helped some musicians out in LA come back into the scene, helped some venues as well. Because it was just a time where everything was shut down and people wanted to come back into the world, but they didn't really know how to sell it. They're like, people are afraid of us. People are afraid to come out and get back into the hospitality, ring. And so it was that really like kind of propelled me to start the business. And then from there, I've definitely still have been working in entertainment and hospitality spaces. More recently, kind of venturing into nonprofit spaces, which is definitely interesting to me. But yeah.
So what does your day-to-day look like as the founder and CEO of StrataBrand?
Yeah, I mean, it varies based on my clients. Like I said, I have some in New York, I have some in LA, I have some in Nashville. So it depends who I'm working with that day. I usually take on 5 clients at a time. That's about the capacity that I have, and with all the hours I have in the day. I do have an intern that comes in and out depending on her school schedule and stuff like that. So, but day to day, really, I mean, on a broader picture, I wake up, I'm a runner. I love to run. I love to be outside. So I'm doing my workout first, and then I really structure my day. Like, let's say I'm working with, I work with a music festival in Venice called Venice Fest, and it's like a food, wine, music festival. And they're a few hours behind because they're on the West Coast. But once they start to wake up, I'm talking to people who are working on their festival, some of their vendors, and brainstorming. I let them come to me and say, okay, like, what do you want people to get out of this event? Or what do you want people to feel when they go into this event? And we kind of have like a brainstorming session. I like to call it a dream storm. I'm like, okay, there's no rules to this. You can just pitch to me in your highest vision what you want this event to look like, or what you want your business to look like, and just let people spew like their biggest and highest goals for them. And that helps me build a rhetoric around their brand to, you know, have the best result for them. Because at the end of the day, the reason I'm doing what I'm doing is because I love to see people win. I love to see people have like the best days of their life. Like, I am sentimental like that. And anything I can do to get somebody to connect to like the highest part of themselves and the highest vision that they have to complete some sort of goal really excites me. So a lot of my day revolves around having those kind of conversations with people. And then of course, doing research for them. If I'm, you know, if they want to get some publicity, let's say on an event, I help them with that too. It really, I'm kind of like a jack of all trades when it comes to that, where I'm like, okay, like I will do whatever it takes to get your name out there. So sometimes I'm pitching to, you know, newspapers or news channels or social media channels, stuff like that. So we really just try to come up with a comprehensive strategy to make sure that they look and feel their best in whatever their business or brand is doing.
You mentioned earlier some of the bigger projects that you've been a part of. Can you tell us a little bit more about those?
Bigger projects when it comes to like StrataBrand?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I would say, so for right now, one of the bigger ones was the Venice Festival. That was a big one I was proud of. I've worked with a park here in New York called Hudson River Park, and helping them strategize and build out a, like they have this thing called Healthy on the Hudson, which is like during the summer, they have all these activities and stuff that people can do on the Hudson. So help them do that. Also musicians, like I said, briefly also worked with Macy's to help build out a campaign. Like, it's really, when you ask about like the day to day, it really varies, because sometimes my clients is a park. Sometimes they're a big business like Macy's. Sometimes it's a festival. But overall, it's really just like the core of what I'm doing is the same for everybody.
Keeps it exciting on the day to day,
Yes.
right?
Right. Yeah.
So your journey to get here, obviously you kind of just took this leap of faith and you were like, let's just do it. What advice would you have for somebody who maybe is in the same boat, or, you know, they want to make like a career pivot and they're not really sure how to take that first step?
For sure. I definitely had a fear of failure at some point, and I still do. Like, what I do is not, you know, I still have to pitch myself every day. And if I don't get clients, then I don't have a client, right? So I do have like those moments of imposter syndrome or fear that maybe I'm not, like, you know, am I going to make it? Is this going to work? And my advice to anybody who's curious about like taking any sort of leap, whether it's in business or something in your personal life or whatever it is that you can always make the change. Like, let's say you take this leap to like start a business and it's not panning out the way you want. I think we forget as human beings that we have the autonomy to change our minds, and that that's okay, that we don't have to do the same thing for our whole lives. And I think there's a system set up mentally that we're like raised on, that like once you do something, you have to do it forever and you have to do it this way. But I think it's really important to remember that it's okay to keep trying different iterations of things, messing up. I've messed up so many times in my business, you know, like just taking the wrong turn, saying the wrong thing, and you learn from that. but you can't be afraid to fall down a lot. If you're not afraid to do that and you're not afraid to look stupid, then you're going to go a lot farther. And anytime I've resisted, looking really like I'm afraid to look stupid or I'm afraid to say the wrong thing, like I've just held myself back. And sometimes you just have to like bite that bullet of like, okay, I'm going to look stupid in this and people are going to doubt me and people are going to tell me I'm stupid and all these things that might happen and do happen sometimes. And when you kind of like face that fear head on and you're like, I'm not afraid of you. Like you name the fear. You're like, I'm not going to be afraid of you. And I'm not going to let you like bring me down in that way. It's helpful. And another thing I always say, because I'm an eternal optimist as well, is like, you need to let life surprise you sometimes. And I've been somebody who likes to have a schedule and a plan for everything for as long as I can remember. And as I've gotten older, something I've learned is that sometimes you need to release the reins a little. And if you have an idea, if you have something you want to do, give it a shot and just see where the chips fall. Like let life surprise you, because oftentimes it's going to end up a lot better than you thought, even if you allow it to. If you fight it, it's not going to, things are not going to end up the way that they're supposed to. You know what I mean?
That is great advice for the people of Penn State.
Yeah.
So while we're on the advice train, we're kind of in back to school time and we have students that have just come for their very first year here at Penn State. And we have some who are starting to think about graduation. What advice would you have for them who are figuring out what their next step is and what they can do after their time at Penn State?
Yeah. For the advice for the people coming into Penn State, first of all, is, like I said earlier, be where your feet are, be present, enjoy being 18, 19, 20, 21. That's a very special, informative time in your life, and give yourself grace, because not every day is going to be easy and every day you're going to be learning something new about yourself. So really just enjoy the roller coaster, because that's what it is. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, but just strap in for the ride and enjoy it. And then for the people who are leaving Penn State or have, they're on your final year, your senior year, soak it up. Yes, soak up the senior year, but don't be afraid for what's to come. I think a lot of people, their senior year, like, you get so used to your community there and your friends, and it is so beautiful and it's such a great thing. But just know that once you leave Penn State, it is always with you, and the network that you create there doesn't leave. And there's people I've met at Penn State that, I reach out to them years later. And even though we don't talk every day, they're still there for me for advice, mentors. Like, you're a part of a network of people who have your back at the end of the day. And it's like thousands and thousands of people. Like, how cool is that? So when you leave Penn State, like, walk out of it with confidence that you're not walking out alone, even if you're moving to a big city by yourself where you don't know a lot of people, or if you're taking a job that, you don't know if you have what it takes yet to make it work with it. But just know that you have like an army behind you in Penn State that you can fall back on, and people who are willing to catch you and that are there for you.
Great advice. And one last question kind of related to that. What are some of the things that you've taken from Penn State that you still use in your everyday career, whether it's, lessons you learned in a class or just, being part of different clubs and organizations? Which of those things are you still using to this day?
Yeah, I think for me, when I was at Penn State, I really felt the community aspect of it in a way that, and I think Penn State is really unique in this way, where the camaraderie, the family feel that you really do feel there if you put yourself into the community that is Penn State and really immerse yourself in it. And when I left Penn State, I was like, I think I got that out of Penn State because I put in energy into it. I showed up for the people in my life there, and they showed up for me. Like, it was this beautiful ecosystem of community. And when I left, I said, if I want to continue having that feeling of community and feeling of family, I need to kind of be that pillar wherever I go and represent what Penn State taught me, which was to be a leader in my community and to be that person somebody can lean on. And I felt like when I moved to New York and I joined different communities here, whether it was new friendships I made or different athletic clubs I was a part of, I was like, no, this is something I'm going to show up for. Like, I'm not going to be willy-nilly with it. And I feel like with Penn State, like, if you show up at Penn State, you show up. And here in New York, I felt like that really paid dividends for me when I showed up here. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to show up in every community I'm part of and try to be a leader and try to be somebody that people can count on. But I think overall, it really was just the mentality that, you want to be that like lighthouse for people. And I felt like Penn State was a lighthouse for me.
At Penn State Lighthouse, it never dims.
Yeah, that's right.
It follows you forever.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
All right. We like to wrap things up with a quick little lightning round of questions. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Your favorite creamery flavor?
It would have to be a sorbet, even though last time because I'm lactose intolerant. And when I went to school there, it didn't exist yet. And I tried to get it to happen with student government, but now it's there. So yeah.
And they're delicious.
They're delicious. Yeah.
Your favorite Penn State sport, which one are you buying tickets for first?
Well, I mean, it's got to be football, right? Like just the energy. But if it's not football, I'm a big basketball fan. Like I love basketball. So probably,
nice.
Yeah.
Your favorite class and or professor while you were here?
Favorite class was my creative nonfiction writing class. Kind of random, but good. And professor, I mean, he wasn't professor, but Jamie Perry was an advisor to me, and he was very special for me.
Your favorite local restaurant that you're going to be hitting up next time you're in State College?
Ooh, Allen Street Grill. Is that still there?
Nice. Yes. And last one, your most treasured piece of Penn State swag.
Oh man, most treasured piece of Penn State. Okay, well, like the flagpoles in front of Old Main.
Mm-hmm.
That was my favorite place to sit. I would sit there and I would do work when the weather was nice and just sit and observe people. I love that you can sit there and you can see everyone, but no one's really seeing you. It was my favorite perch spot. And I remember one of my last weeks at Penn State, I was sitting there and I kind of like scooted over, and one of the rocks from like a little piece of the stone from the stone seat around the flagpole like came off, and I kept it. And it was just like a sign. It was my last couple weeks there. And I was like, this has always been my favorite place. So I have a little piece of stone from the stone thing that surrounds the flagpole.
Definitely wanted to go with you. That was a sign. I would have taken it as one also.
Yeah.
All right, Laura. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This was a great conversation, and I know that the people will love to hear it.
Hey, thanks, Katie. Bye.
Thank you, Laura, for joining us today. And to our listeners, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Special thanks to our guest relations coordinator, Abrielle Clark, and our graphic designer, Gabrielle Harris, for their work on this episode. If you're interested in more stories about our alumni and the cool things that they're doing in the world, check out the Penn Stater magazine. And for more information about the Alumni Association, visit alumni.psu.edu. We are.